Today, whales reign as the planet's largest animals, towering giants that surpass nearly all life forms in history. But these modern behemoths, or cetaceans, come in two main branches: the filter-feeding baleen whales, known as Mysticetes, and their toothed cousins, the Odontocetes. However, the diversity within the whale family was once astonishingly vast, with many unique species lost to time. In this video, we're diving deep to uncover the lesser-known members of the cetacean family, those extraordinary creatures that shaped the ancient oceans. After the mass extinction of non-avian dinosaurs at the end of the Cretaceous period, around 66 million years ago, the seas were left empty of their top predators. But as the marine reptiles faded, a remarkable group of land-dwelling mammals took their place, adapting over millennia to become the ocean's new rulers. Their jaws were lined with teeth sharp enough to pierce armor, their bodies built for both power and endurance. These weren't gentle giants, they were ancient hunters, equipped for survival in oceans brimming with danger. They weren't just whales. They terrorized full prehistoric oceans world. The oceans of the past weren't calm or forgiving. They were battlegrounds. And the warriors? Colossal creatures that evolved to master this liquid realm. Roughly 50 million years ago, a new wave of creatures began to rise from the depths of evolution. Creatures that didn't quite belong to the land, nor did they fully belong to the sea. They were early ancestors of whales, known as the Archaeocetes, a name that echoes their role as the original. Ancient whales. These beings had once been land dwellers, nimble on their feet, with hooves that lightly grazed the terrain. But somewhere along the evolutionary chain, a shift began. A pull toward the water. Imagine the odds these creatures faced. At first, they ventured into shallow coastal waters, maybe to hunt, maybe to evade predators. It's a mystery that's buried in time. But one thing is clear: these animals were drawn in, adapting limb by limb, generation by generation. Their bodies elongated. Forelimbs transformed into powerful paddles, tails extended, and their land-adapted nostrils started to migrate upward, preparing them for a new life in the depths. Meet Pakicetus, a creature barely recognizable as a whale. Its appearance was more like that of a wolf or hyena, prowling near water rather than dominating its depths. Pakicetus was at the very beginning of this evolutionary experiment, still bound to land but slowly gaining the traits it would need to thrive in the ocean. Its legs were stout, but its ear bones had begun adapting to underwater hearing, hinting at what was to come. Over millions of years, Pakicetus evolved into new forms that were better suited to the open water. Evolutionary pressures sculpted its descendants, elongating their bodies, adapting their lungs, and perfecting their tail muscles. These were creatures of survival, instinctively driven to master this new frontier. And as they transformed, so did the ocean, reshaped by the presence of these burgeoning giants. But the crowning achievement of this evolutionary journey would be a creature that truly claimed the ocean as its domain: Basilosaurus. A name that translates to king lizard. This was a misnomer, for Basilosaurus was no lizard, it was a whale. Though unlike any whale you'd recognize today, slender, powerful, and armed with a mouthful of teeth, designed to tear through anything that dared to cross its path. With a body stretching over 50 feet long and powerful jaws lined with jagged teeth, Basilosaurus was a marvel of prehistoric engineering. It had a voracious appetite and the strength to pursue large prey, outmatching nearly anything in its path. Where it swam, the ocean trembled. In a world filled with mystery, one truth became clear: this creature ruled its realm. To us, Basilosaurus may seem like a distant curiosity, a fossil in a museum, but it represents something deeper, something that taps into our own fascination with survival, power, and dominance. The journey of the Archaeocetes is more than just an ancient story. It's a testament to adaptation, a reminder of how creatures, and maybe even people, evolve when the stakes are life and death. For early Archaeocetes, the shift from land to sea was not instantaneous but a gradual, transformative journey. These animals began their transition at the water's edge, blending their land-dwelling bodies with newly evolving aquatic traits. Driven by a rapidly changing environment and an instinct to survive, the early Archaeocetes started to adapt to a world vastly different from the one their ancestors knew. The shape of the Archaeocetes bodies began to evolve, becoming more elongated and hydrodynamic. Their limbs adapted too, transforming into paddles that could power them through the water, while still bearing resemblance to terrestrial mammals. These early whales were honing their ability to maneuver in the sea. The flexibility of their spine allowed them to undulate through the water for a new era of ocean-dwelling giants. One of the most remarkable features of early Archaeocetes was their limb structure, while still retaining the basic anatomy of land-dwelling mammals. These limbs were evolving into powerful paddles capable of navigating currents and tides. Archaeocetes used both their forelimbs and their tails to move, experimenting with different forms of propulsion as they grew more aquatic with each generation. The development of a more flexible spine and strong, webbed feet provided them with newfound control and speed. As these pioneers ventured further from shore, their diets shifted to fit their new habitat. Early Archaeocetes had sharp, multi-purpose teeth that could handle a wide variety of prey fish, cephalopods, even small marine reptiles. Their jaws adapted to apply greater pressure, helping them bite through slippery, fast-moving prey with ease. These early hunters became opportunistic predators, feasting on anything they could catch, and were gaining an edge in the food chain with each adaptation. Exploring the depths brought new challenges, and early Archaeocetes faced a world of unfamiliar pressures, temperatures, and hunting tactics to succeed. Their lungs and circulatory systems adapted to allow longer dives and greater endurance. Archaeocetes could hold their breath for longer durations and withstand deeper pressures than their land-dwelling relatives, making them one of the earliest mammals to conquer these previously unreachable depths. In these shadowed depths, vision alone wasn't enough. Early Archaeocetes developed heightened senses of hearing and pressure sensitivity, giving them the ability to detect movements and sounds in the murky water. This sensory evolution allowed them to navigate and hunt efficiently, even in poor visibility, by feeling the slightest ripples or hearing the faintest sounds of a fleeing fish. As a result, they became skilled hunters, capable of finding prey in the ever-darkening, colder waters. The ancient seas were rife with giant predators, from massive sharks to armored reptiles. Archaeocetes had to adapt not only to hunt but to survive as prey themselves. Their evolving streamlined bodies, swift reactions, and sharp senses made them elusive when pursued. Through each generation, they refined these survival instincts, honing a balance of speed and agility that allowed them to thrive in dangerous waters. And it wasn't just physical evolution that set the Archaeocetes apart, their behaviors were evolving too. Early evidence suggests that these creatures may have started forming loose social groups, a precursor to the highly structured pods that would define their descendants. Grouping together provided protection and may have even facilitated communication through simple body language and gestures. This social adaptation marked an important milestone, the cooperative behaviors that would later define the most intelligent marine mammals. The Archaeocetes journey wasn't just about adaptation, it was a leap into an entirely new realm of survival. With each new generation, they grew more suited to the ocean's demands, gaining abilities that would eventually lead to full immersion in this environment. From the shoreline to the open ocean, they set the foundations for the evolution of the truly giant whales that would soon command these ancient waters. The reign of these ancient giants wasn't just a matter of size and strength, it was the result of extraordinary adaptations, each evolutionarily honed to master the demands of a dangerous world. Basilosaurus and Dorudon were among the first whales to develop specialized features that would set the foundation for the whales we know today. Take Basilosaurus, for instance. Its elongated body wasn't just for show. Over millions of years, this adaptation allowed it to propel itself with swift, snake-like movements, a technique that enabled it to maneuver quickly, despite its massive size. In an environment where speed often meant the difference between life and death, Basilosaurus was built to react, strike, and overpower. In contrast, Dorudon's adaptations took a different route. It evolved with smaller, more compact bodies that allowed for rapid bursts of speed ideal for chasing down fast-moving prey. Its forelimbs, while still resembling paddles, were strong enough to help it change directions quickly, giving it the agility to outmaneuver even the fastest fish. But perhaps the most impressive adaptation was their evolving sense of hearing. For both species, underwater hearing became a key advantage, a trait that enabled them to track prey and avoid predators even in the pitch-black depths of the ocean. While not yet capable of echolocation like their modern descendants, these early whales were highly attuned to sound, giving them a unique sensory edge. As these creatures evolved, so did the way they interpreted their world. The inner ear structure of these early whales reveals how they adapted to the pressures of their aquatic environment. This development paved the way for further evolutionary advancements, such as echolocation, that would define future generations of marine mammals. In the endless expanse of the prehistoric seas, survival was not guaranteed. But through their specialized adaptations, Basilosaurus and Dorudon carved out a place for themselves, shaping not only their lives but the future of whale evolution. Each trait, from the length of their bodies to the depth of their hearing, was a step toward mastery over their oceanic kingdom. For millions of years, the Archaeocetes ruled the oceans. They thrived in an era that seemed destined for their reign, adapting to survive, to hunt, and to dominate. But as history has shown time and time again, evolution never pauses. Eventually, even the most fearsome of kings must fall. The seas were changing. Ocean temperatures fluctuated, coastlines shifted, and new species emerged. These changes, slow but relentless, altered the food chains and habitats the Archaeocetes relied on. Where they once found abundant food and sanctuary, there now lay competition and scarcity. As the world transformed, so too did the creatures within it. Early ancestors of today's sharks and large predatory fish entered the scene, each one adding a new layer of competition. The food sources these whales depended on became more difficult to secure. Basilosaurus, once the ocean's most formidable hunter, now found itself challenged by a new wave of predators. The Archaeocetes faced a fate that even their remarkable adaptations couldn't withstand. They were giants in a world growing too small, too competitive, and too cold for them to survive. And so slowly these ancient rulers began to vanish from the ocean, leaving behind a legacy buried in the sands and fossils of time. Subscribe now to join our exclusive community where we explore extinct prehistoric creatures twice a week. Hit subscribe so you don't miss out. The prehistoric seas were teeming with life, from the tiniest microscopic plankton to swift schools of fish darting through the water. But while many of the ocean's largest predators took on the role of hunters, a new group of whales began exploring an entirely different way of feed, one that would lead to an evolutionary revolution. These early Mysticetes, ancient relatives of today's baleen whales, were different from the large, toothed predators we often imagine when we think of prehistoric seas. Rather than pursuing and capturing prey with sharp teeth, they evolved a structure that changed everything baleen. Baleen, made from keratin, the same material that forms our hair and fingernails, acted as a filter inside the whale's mouth. Instead of hunting down individual prey, Mysticetes would open their mouths wide, taking in a vast amount of water filled with tiny organisms like krill and plankton. The baleen plates would then trap the food, allowing the whales to release the excess water and keep the nutritious catch. This strategy was radically different. In place of the hunt came a new model of feeding, one focused on abundance rather than precision. With baleen, the sea itself became a steady source of food, fueling a method of feasting that required patience rather than speed, size over aggression. This revolutionary adaptation meant that Mysticetes could extract sustenance from one of the ocean's most plentiful resources. This feeding revolution was about efficiency and abundance. Oceans during this period were filled with plankton, tiny organisms that drifted in vast quantities. By filtering these small but numerous organisms, Mysticetes could eat without exhausting themselves in pursuit. Baleen became the tool that allowed them to grow larger and sustain themselves through easy, consistent access to a plentiful food source. The baleen itself was finely adapted, with some species developing shorter, coarser plates perfect for capturing fish, while others evolved longer. Delicate bristles suited for filtering even the tiniest plankton. This specialization within baleen structures allowed mysticetes to inhabit different regions and target specific prey, making them efficient feeders in a range of environments. One of the most remarkable aspects of this feeding method is that it fueled a transformation in size. Baleen whales, like the blue whale, grew to become the largest animals to ever live, consuming billions of krill in a single day. They reached lengths of nearly 100 feet, a size that was once unimaginable. This incredible growth was only possible because of their unique filter feeding method, which allowed them to gain more calories than they expended. As mysticetes diversified, so did their feeding methods. Humpback whales, for instance, adapted a technique known as bubble net feeding, a coordinated behavior where multiple whales create a net of bubbles around a school of fish, trapping them in a spiral before taking turns to feed. This behavior shows not only their adaptability but their intelligence and social cooperation. This cooperative hunting strategy exemplifies how baleen feeding wasn't just passive. While some whales simply glided through the water to filter out plankton, others, like the humpbacks, developed complex methods to make the most of their baleen, turning each gulp into a highly efficient feast. Each species of Mysticete developed its own strategies to suit its environment and prey, from the gray whales that stir up sediment to filter small organisms, to the fast-swimming rorquals that take in massive gulps of krill-rich water in open seas. This specialization ensured that baleen whales spread across the globe, each species carving out a niche and leaving a mark on the ecosystem. The impact of this feeding strategy rippled through the marine ecosystem. Mysticetes didn't only consume, they contributed. By diving and surfacing, they mixed nutrients between the ocean's layers, fueling plankton blooms that served as food for countless species of fish, seabirds, and other marine animals. In a way, baleen whales became ocean gardeners, cultivating life as they moved. Baleen whales may have started as filter feeders, but they evolved into something much larger than just consumers. As they glided through the ocean, they wove a network of interdependence, one that sustained countless species and formed the basis of entire ecosystems. Their feeding transformed them into essential contributors to the ocean's health, guardians of a delicate balance that spanned the globe. Through baleen, mysticetes changed not only themselves but the world around them, from patient feeders to skilled foragers. Their evolution was a testament to adaptability and resilience. Their legacy would inspire all future giants of the sea and solidify their place in the ocean's story as some of its most influential inhabitants. The Mysticetes didn't just survive, they thrived, and in doing so, they grew. Over time, they evolved to become giants, reaching lengths and weights that no land animal could ever hope to achieve. But what drove this growth? How did Mysticetes become some of the largest animals to ever exist on Earth? The answer lay in their unique feeding strategy. By consuming plankton, a nearly endless and renewable resource, Mysticetes could sustain themselves without depleting their food sources. The more efficiently they could feed, the larger they could grow. And the less vulnerable they were to predators, larger size offered key advantages. Bigger bodies could store more energy, allowing Mysticetes to survive long migrations and endure periods when food was scarce. Larger size also provided better protection from predators, as only the fiercest hunters would dare to challenge a whale of such magnitude. And so, over millions of years, these whales became true giants, each generation building upon the success of the last. Blue whales, the largest of them all, would eventually reach lengths of nearly 100 feet and weights exceeding 200 tons. They became monuments to the potential of evolution, showcasing how peaceful feeding strategies could lead to some of nature's most awe-inspiring giants. As the largest animals on Earth, the Mysticetes embody the ocean's might and mystery. Their immense size tells a story one of adaptability, abundance, and balance. In them, we see not just the tale of survival but a testament to life's incredible potential when fueled by harmony with nature. As Earth entered its ice age cycles, everything in the ocean had to adapt. The climate grew colder, the seas changed, and yet, amid the freezing waters and shifting ecosystems, the baleen whales rose to the challenge. With each ice age, they didn't just survive, they thrived. reshaping their lives to fit a world in flux. During the Ice Age, massive glaciers extended from the poles, carving new coastlines and influencing ocean currents. These changes transformed marine ecosystems, especially in the northern and southern hemispheres. Plankton and krill, the primary food source for baleen whales, began to concentrate around regions rich in nutrients, like the polar ice edges and the newly formed continental shelves. For the baleen whales, these cold, productive waters became a lifeline. As ice reshaped the continents, baleen whales adapted their migrations to follow the food. The gray whales of the Pacific, for instance, undertook some of the longest migrations in the animal kingdom. They traveled thousands of miles from warm berthing lagoons in what is now Mexico to the frigid, krill-filled waters off Alaska and the Arctic. This journey was perilous, filled with shifting icebergs, storms, and a constant search for sustenance. For these whales, migration wasn't just a survival tactic, it was a family tradition passed down through generations. Calves followed their mothers, learning the ancient routes and timing their movements with the seasonal blooms of plankton and krill. These migrations turned the whales into travelers and teachers, ensuring each new generation would survive the journey and the challenges it brought. But the Ice Age did not impact all whales the same way. Different baleen species carved out unique niches in the world's oceans. Blue whales, the largest creatures to ever live, focused on the open ocean's krill-rich waters, while humpback whales adapted to shallower coastal zones, where they could feed on schools of small fish and crustaceans. Each species adopted feeding techniques tailored to their environments. Humpbacks, for example, perfected bubble net feeding, a cooperative hunting method that allowed them to corral fish into a concentrated ball, maximizing their catch. Meanwhile, blue whales honed their ability to take in massive gulps of krill-rich water, straining out food with unparalleled efficiency using their baleen plates. As glaciers melted and reformed over millennia, sea levels rose and fell, constantly reshaping coastlines. These new, shallow environments became incredibly productive, with sunlight penetrating through and allowing phytoplankton, the basis of the ocean's food web, to flourish. Baleen whales took full advantage of this, becoming crucial players in maintaining the ocean's delicate balance. In pursuing krill, baleen whales became more than just feeders, they became ecosystem engineers. Their feeding habits brought nutrients from the ocean depths to the surface, fueling life cycles in the upper waters. When whales surfaced to breathe or defecate, they enriched the surrounding waters with essential nutrients, supporting phytoplankton blooms that were the foundation of countless marine species. In this way, the baleen whales acted as the ocean's gardeners, indirectly supporting the vast array of life that relied on the phytoplankton blooms. From the smallest fish to the largest predators, every species within these ecosystems was touched by the presence of these whales. Their lives formed a cyclical pattern of consumption and regeneration, helping to keep marine ecosystems thriving even in the harshest Ice Age conditions. In the far north, the bowhead whale became a true Ice Age specialist. Unlike other whales, it could break through thick ice to create breathing holes, enabling it to live year-round in polar waters. This adaptation made it one of the most resilient species of the time, surviving where few others could. The bowhead's life spanned centuries, with some individuals living over 200 years, making them among the longest living mammals on Earth. The bowhead's thick blubber and unique adaptations allowed it to thrive even in near freezing temperatures. But it wasn't just their physical traits that ensured their survival. Like their migratory relatives, bowheads developed deep social bonds, sharing knowledge of feeding grounds and safe paths through the ice with younger generations. Through the Ice Age and beyond, baleen whales evolved, not only in form but in behavior. They became some of the ocean's most skilled travelers, adapting to cycles of scarcity and abundance with flexibility, intelligence, and endurance. Their evolution shaped the Ice Age oceans, a legacy that echoes even in today's marine ecosystems. In the face of ice and shifting seas, the baleen whales proved resilient, finding a way to flourish. Their story is one of adaptation and persistence, an example of nature's ability to thrive even during the planet's most formidable times. But size and migration alone did not make Mysticetes successful. These giants also relied on something more profound: a deep connection to one another, an ability to communicate across vast distances, and a cooperative nature that strengthened their bond. Mysticetes weren't just solitary giants, they were social creatures, bound together by songs and signals that united their pod. The songs of baleen whales are some of the most hauntingly beautiful sounds in nature, reverberating through the water with melodies that can travel for hundreds of miles. Each song serves a purpose: to call out to potential mates, to warn of danger, or simply to stay connected with the pod. These songs were not just random notes, they were structured, complex, and often changed over time. Each population of whales developed its own dialect in their songs, allowing members of the same pod to recognize one another. And over the years, their songs evolved, creating a living legacy of their history and bonds. And it wasn't just about communication. Mysticetes were known to display cooperative behavior, particularly during their long migrations. They traveled in pods, offering protection to the young and the weak, and teaching survival skills to new generations. They learned to use their sheer size as a shield, keeping potential predators at bay. Through this cooperation, the Mysticetes created a social network that gave them resilience. Each member of the pod contributed to the survival of the whole, whether through guidance, protection, or simply the strength of their presence. In these social structures, Mysticetes showed us that even the largest creatures in the world rely on one another. Their songs, their journeys, and their bonds were all part of a shared existence, woven together by a need for connection and cooperation. For the Mysticetes, survival wasn't just about size or strength, it was about community, communication, and the collective will to endure. They weren't just giants of the deep, they were families, tribes, and communities, connected by the vastness of the ocean and the rhythms of life that echo through it. In the deep, shadowed realms of the ancient ocean, a new kind of predator emerged, one that relied not on sight, but on sound. These were the ancestors of today's toothed whales, the Odontocetes, and they were armed with an extraordinary evolutionary tool, echolocation. While Mysticetes feasted on abundance, Odontocetes hunted with precision. They evolved a biological sonar system that allowed them to see using sound, a process called echolocation, by emitting high-frequency clicks and listening to the returning echoes. These early toothed whales could map their surroundings with incredible detail. This adaptation not only gave them an edge in hunting, but allowed them to thrive in environments where other predators struggled. At the heart of echolocation lies a unique organ called the melanophate-filled structure in the toothed whale's forehead that acts like an acoustic lens, focusing sound waves with astonishing precision. When the sound waves bounce back, the whales can decipher the size, shape, distance, and even the texture of objects around them. This ability turned them into hunters of the highest caliber, capable of zeroing in on prey hidden beneath the sands or swimming in total darkness. Among all Odontocetes, the sperm whale developed echolocation to an extraordinary level. As one of the largest toothed whales, it used its powerful clicks to scan for prey in the pitch-black depths, where light couldn't penetrate, diving to depths exceeding 3,000 feet. These whales could hunt colossal squid, an elusive prey few other animals dared to pursue. In the darkness of the deep ocean, the sperm whale's echolocation clicks grew louder and more intense as it homed in on its target. This sonar system gave the whale an almost predatory clairvoyance, enabling it to ambush giant squid by pinpointing their position down to the finest detail. The result was a hunt defined not by speed or brute force, but by sensory mastery, a game of precision where every sound mattered. Echolocation wasn't a one-size-fits-all adaptation. River dolphins, for instance, fine-tuned their sonar to maneuver through narrow waterways and dense vegetation in murky rivers. Orcas, on the other hand, used echolocation to coordinate sophisticated hunting tactics in coastal environments, enabling them to communicate and organize group hunts. Each species adapted its echolocation for survival in its unique habitat, making Odontocetes some of the most versatile predators in the ocean. Echolocation wasn't only about detecting prey, it was a language. Toothed whales developed complex communication methods, allowing him to coordinate with family members and relay information about food, threats and travel routes. This acoustic language strengthened social bonds and made them efficient hunters, not just as individuals but as groups. Odontocetes were becoming more than just solitary hunters, they were social strategists. For Odontocetes, survival was about more than just hunting, it was about connection. These toothed whales developed sophisticated social structures, forming pods that lived, hunted, and traveled together. In these pods, individuals shared knowledge and passed down skills across generations, creating a social culture that was unique among marine mammals. Young dolphins and whales learned not only survival skills but social etiquette within their pods. Mothers taught calves how to hunt and use echolocation, while older members played the role of mentors, guiding the younger ones through the intricacies of pod life. This social learning was a cornerstone of Odontocete culture, ensuring that each generation became part of a lineage of shared knowledge and tradition. The orca, or killer whale, is a master of cooperative hunting, relying on teamwork to capture prey with remarkable efficiency. Orca pods specialize in different hunting strategies, often depending on their location and prey. In some regions, orcas have developed techniques to hunt seals by creating waves to knock them off ice floes. In others, they work together to trap schools of fish, taking turns to feed in a perfectly orchestrated dance of skill and timing. These hunting methods aren't just instincts, they're traditions. Certain pods inherit unique hunting techniques that are passed down like family heirlooms, forming a cultural identity within each group. Orcas in the North Pacific, for example, have been observed teaching younger generations to prey on specific types of fish, while those in Antarctic waters have perfected methods to target seals on floating ice. The bonds between members of a pod went beyond survival. Dolphins, known for their playfulness and intelligence, formed deep friendships and alliances within their groups. They communicated using a rich array of sounds, each whistle or click representing specific messages, warnings, or even greetings. Scientists have found that dolphins can remember the unique names or signature whistles of their companions for decades, showing just how significant these relationships are. For larger toothed whales like sperm whales, social bonds extended into periods of rest and protection. In a behavior known as logging, pods of sperm whales rest vertically in the water, remaining in close proximity as they sleep. This formation not only offers safety in numbers, but reinforces the close-knit relationships within the pod. It's a reminder that for Odontocetes, life was more than just survival, it was about belonging. Each species of Odontocete, from dolphins to narwhals, developed its own unique pod dynamics, adapted to their environment and lifestyle. Narwhals, for instance, travel in groups through Arctic waters, relying on their tusk-like tooth to sense changes in the water and communicate with each other. The diversity of these social adaptations highlights just how deeply rooted community is in the lives of toothed whales. Through the evolution of social structures, communication, and culture, Odontocetes became more than individual hunters, they became interconnected communities. Each pod told a story of cooperation, shared wisdom, and resilience, ensuring that these remarkable predators not only survived but flourished across oceans and generations. Among the Odontocetes, one species would emerge that not only harnessed the power of echolocation but pushed the limits of size and strength, the giant sperm whale. These enormous creatures grew up to 60 feet long, with a single tooth-filled jaw capable of taking on prey nearly its own size. At the heart of its prowess lay an extraordinary adaptation, the spermaceti organ. This organ, filled with a waxy substance unique to sperm whales, gave them unmatched control over buoyancy and the ability to produce intense sonar signals. These whales could dive more than a mile deep, navigating the ocean's darkest realms and seeking out some of its most elusive prey. But for these giants, the darkness held one target above all: the giant squid. With eyes the size of dinner plates and arms reaching up to 40 feet, these squids were formidable, elusive, and as intelligent as they were monstrous. To take down such a creature, the sperm whale needed not only strength but precise hunting skills. When these two giants clashed, the battles were legendary. The sperm whale would rely on its echolocation to zero in on the squid, while the squid fought back, wrapping its powerful tentacles around the whale's body. Some whales even surfaced with scars left by these encounters, bearing silent witness to the ferocity of these underwater battles. As apex predators of the deep, sperm whales shaped the marine ecosystem, regulating the populations of giant squid and other prey. Their existence at the top of the food chain established a delicate balance in the depths, where few other creatures dared to venture. Today, the legacy of these lives on in creatures that inspire both awe and admiration. Dolphins, orcas, and other toothed whales have inherited the traits that made their ancestors masters of the ocean, traits that continue to captivate and fascinate us. In dolphins, we see playful intelligence, social bonds, and a sense of community that echoes their ancient roots. And in orcas, or killer whales, we witness a remarkable fusion of intelligence, cooperation, and predatory skill. These modern Odontocetes have adapted to new environments, from coastal reefs to the icy waters of the Arctic, each species carving out its niche. But despite their continued dominance, today's Odontocetes face new challenges. Industrial fishing, climate change, and pollution have disrupted their habitats and food sources. Once the hunters, they now find themselves navigating a world reshaped by human activity. Yet even in the face of these threats, Odontocetes display resilience. Through conservation efforts and the ongoing study of their complex societies, we have come to understand the importance of protecting these ancient lineages, allowing them to continue their journey through Earth's oceans. From the ancient Archaeocetes, who first ventured into the water, to the Mysticetes, who ruled through size and grace, and the Odontocetes, who turned precision and power into an art, whales have evolved over millions of years to become both predators and protectors of the ocean. Through each stage of evolution, these giants have adapted, survived, and thrived, becoming symbols of the ocean's power, mystery, and resilience. The story of whales is a story of survival, of adaptation to changing worlds, and of the incredible bonds formed through social structures and intelligence. And in the end, their journey resonates with our own. Just as humans have forged societies, conquered new frontiers, and struggled to adapt, whales have done the same beneath the waves. Their lives are a mirror to our own, a reminder of both our shared resilience and the shared responsibility to protect the wonders of our world. As we look to the future, the story of these ocean giants challenges us. Will we safeguard their world, ensuring that future generations will witness the majesty of whales, or will their legacy become yet another chapter in the annals of history? For now, the giants remain, guardians of a vast underwater realm, a timeless reminder of the beauty and power of life on Earth. Hit that subscribe button now. As we've seen, the oceans once belonged to giants with powerful jaws and cunning hunting strategies. But what if I told you there was a creature on land that could rival these massive beasts in both size and strength? Press on the video now pooping on your screen to meet the mega elephant that could tower over prehistoric giants. Don't forget to leave a like on this video and see you there.